Hey everybody, something a little bit different to do today. This is a welding job I've got to do. This is a little gearbox from one of the boats that I'm doing work with. This thing's quite simple. It's got a shaft that runs through it this way, and it's got a gear, and it gives you a secondary out here. Now this can be used for adding an autopilot, for instance, to the steering system of a yacht or a boat. This has got a few secrets inside we discovered, because this shaft is not original. It's been made up so it fits the application this person needed. But unfortunately, as you can see, this is supposed to be one shaft. And this spline end, which has been machined down to fit in this shaft, has broken free. It was welded at one point, but not by a lot. So today I need to take the shaft out, I need to clean it all up the best I can, and then I need to TIG weld this back on. This is all stainless steel. I thought some of you might find this interesting to see some of the sorts of boat work that I have to do. And it's interesting how the skills that I've learned through motorcycles, but also through the metalworks, have proven themselves to be very valuable to the point that I can get work doing stuff like this now. Oh, this is where it starts to get messy. As you can see, there's a gear here, and then you have the shaft, and there is another gear on there, and that basically gives you your 90-degree adaptation and gives you the extra input. As I was doing more and more of this boat work, I get to see more and more fixes, and you think, how do people come to this conclusion that this was the best way to do this? But there's a very good point that was made, which is sometimes these boats are in the middle of God knows where. You don't know who you have to help you. Something breaks on the boat. They need a local worksman to get the thing running so they can get the boat moving. And that's why sometimes the repairs that you find are very temporary, shall we say. Okay, so that takes that mounting plate off. Take this front cover off. Take that out. A lot of the work that I do with boats basically involves replacing bearings, replacing seals, checking how gear teeth are, what sort of condition they're in, re-shimming the whole system so it all meshes properly, finding issues, cleaning stuff up, all that sort of stuff, maintenance-y type stuff. Right, and then I can take that shaft out of there. Get that. The first thing I need to do is get all of this grease off of this gear, because I don't want that getting involved anywhere near the weld. Just going to use some brake and clutch cleaner to degrease this the best I can. I'm not welding on this bit, so it doesn't really matter. It's just I want to make sure there is as little grease in the environment as possible. Just got some clean rags so I can give it another clean and make sure I get all the grease off. There we go. Nice and shiny. So I just used the wire wheel on the Dremel and some brake cleaner and cleaned out this as the best I could. The reason why I need to clean it out particularly, can you see there's a shoulder in there? That shoulder corresponds to this shoulder. And to make sure that this is concentric, I need to make sure that this is pushed right down hard in there. I'm then going to do a spot weld in a couple of places to make sure it's locked in place, and then run a bead around it. This is a very good fit. I mean, listen. That's a good sound. Although this has got a flat side for orientation, this doesn't, so it's nice that this can go on in any place and it will be absolutely fine. So all I've got to do now is tap that down in there and weld it. Hopefully this should be easy enough. So put that in there. Use a piece of wood so I don't damage it. Actually, I think I'm going to connect that onto there directly and it will give me a way of holding it. Just need to make sure I can be at the right angle to see what I'm doing. Purge the gas. It really is time to invest in some new Tig Welding gloves. These are past it. Look at the size of the fingers on this glove because it's been cooked. Little hand. I was concerned about not having this clamped in place in case it moves, but it was so hard to drive back in. I'm sure it's just going to hold. I want to put a spot weld there and on the other side. Just melt that into there. That will hold it and then I can run a bit of bead on it. It's very dirty and contaminated, so it's not the neatest weld in the world, but it is strong enough, and that's the important thing, and it's centered. So I'm now going to just clean up this as best I can, and it will be job done. There's a couple of places where the weld built up a little bit higher than the normal shaft, so what I'm doing is I'm just taking off the high spots by running the file over it, and then when I feel it smooth out, it's touching all surfaces, and I know it's back to its normal size. It's not that critical, I just want to make sure it's neat and as good as it can be. Emery, I'm always losing the emery. Lighting's tricky here, but there you go. It's not the neatest weld in the world, but it is definitely strong enough. And for the work that's required of this, that's absolutely fine. I will point out these splashes of weld up into the splines, that wasn't done by me. That was done by the person who did the original attempted repair. They appear to have used a stainless steel arc welder because we found in the pocket inside here, I found an awful lot of slag. Obviously this should normally be made out of one piece of metal and it's all just machined in. There is a join here, a very, very thin line. So this has obviously been machined and sleeved together somehow here. And there's been stuff done up here, which is why this isn't exactly perfect for this bearing. We're gonna have to probably do a little bit more work to get that a better fit. And possibly cross pin this because we don't know what's going on in here and we just don't want this thing to turn at one end and not turn at the other. That's the problem we've had so far. Okay, so the quick fun bit, stick it all back together. Goes in like that. That goes on like that. I've got punch marks in the top here that I made when I took this apart to make sure that I had it in the right orientation. And the same deal with this is punched so I know which way around this went. Sometimes making sure that something fits perfectly square is not something that's done, it's just made to fit, so it may only fit properly in one orientation. Life's too short for all that. See, look, if you put it that way, that doesn't fit right because the casting, if you put it that way, lines up perfectly. I haven't tightened everything up because this is going to come back apart again, so we need to address a couple of other issues. But I've actually got to transport this on my bike and I didn't fancy doing that with all that open grease because this whole thing is full of grease. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more stuff like this and many other things besides. I do lots of stuff. I might be able to do more videos like this in the future, depends on what work comes along. Otherwise, huge thanks to my Patreon supporters who ran up my screen earlier, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye. If you enjoyed this video and the other content on the channel, please consider following the links in the description to show your support.